Hello and welcome to Onward in Love and Caring. I'm Greg Johnson, the President and CEO of GJP International, and here in New York, I have the great privilege of serving as the Chief Advisor to the CEO of Emblem Health for family caregiving. And as you can tell from the screen, this is a special and a very special finale to 2021. I am here and Jean is with us all the way from Indonesia. Selamat malam. It's evening for him and our special guest you also see, whom I will introduce in a moment. But before I do that, I want to thank Jean because if it were not for him, I would never have been able to do the special broadcasts. And this is the sixth one that we have had in 2021. So I'm going to say, first of all, thank you, but I'm also going to say terima kasih. In Indonesian, it has been wonderful. Thank you, Jean.
Well, thank you, Greg. And it couldn't be better just to close 2021 with this broadcast. And especially we have like a special guest, which later on we will ask her kindly just to give a thought, some ideas, resolutions for 2022, especially because we are still dealing with this pandemic and hopefully it will be behind us soon, but still we have to be very precautious and so we all can have just like a better year, which we have expected for a couple of years that makes us right now still separated 14,000 miles away. But soon it will be over.
Soon you'll be broadcasting right here from New York City, and we're going to be looking forward to that. Now, today, for this broadcast, I am so thrilled to share and to introduce to you someone whom many of you, I'm sure, have heard speak, have read her books, and have heard her on television. We have with us a woman who has more titles, and I have to almost read them to remember them. Ambassador Reverend Dr. Suzan Johnson Cook, someone who's my friend, Ambassador Sujay. Welcome, and thank you for being with us this morning.
Well, Tanima Kase, I am so happy to be with you and be with you, Jean. It is my honor and privilege. I want to thank you for your leadership, for your friendship, for what you have given to our world. Caregiving is so important, and you have been at the leadership, at the helm of it for so long. So thank you for what you've poured out, and may God bless you and pour back into you the kindness that you have sent around this globe.
Bless your heart. Thank you. She is so special. And yes, she's been to Indonesia, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Thank you so much, Sujay. It's wonderful to share this. And we're going to begin because I wanted, Jean, you've got some special slides for us.
Sure. So I will share the slides right now.
Perfect. And Sujay, you and I will chat even as we're looking at the slides, because in your case, there's so much wonderful to read.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Do you recognize her? I do.
I think I do. I love this. Is one of my favorite pictures, the profile, and it's about women being strong. You want to find how strong we are. We're like tea. You put us in a tea bag and some hot water, and we get even stronger. So thank you for having this.
Well, I am so grateful as well. I love that picture, and you do have many pictures because having you as a guest is a joy, even as Jean was saying to me, oh, she has so many different sites and so forth. Jean, thank you, yes. Titles, work, ambassador, minister, chaplain, educator, lecturer, theologian, TV presenter, author, and entrepreneur. And those are just a few of the things you do. And in your spare time.
Well, you know what? I reflect my host today because you have certainly many titles and we have been in many paths. You know, I say like I used to live in the Bronx. And so right at the point when I was a teenager, my parents let me go to Spain at 14. So I came back bilingual at 14, and it was also the beginning of the Latinization of the Bronx. Many Puerto Ricanos were moving in, and many of the parents of my playmates were first generation. So they still spoke Spanish, and I had to translate. But we ate a lot of paella in Spain. And paella is a wonderful spicy dish with lots of different ingredients. So I'm a paella. I'm a pastor. I'm an author. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a leading lady, and I'm an amazing ambassador. So if you use the acronym of paella, you have who I am, a spicy blend of so many wonderful things that I have been able to experience on this path.
Amen. And you and I have dined together many times, so we also know that the idea of food is something we adore.
Oh yes, very much so. It's like we didn't get this size eating tofu. You know, we've explored food around the world.
Hot and spicy. Jean, let's look at the next photo, if we may. This one is one of the very exciting experiences of your life. There you are with former President Bill Clinton. Tell us about that role.
You know, first of all, I went in 93, 94 as a White House fellow, which I certainly commend to many young leaders. If you're between 25 and 35, it's a wonderful experience where you're guaranteed, if you're selected, and the process is very grueling and long, but if you're selected, you're guaranteed to work with either the president, vice president, or cabinet secretary at the executive level of government. And so I was fortunate to work with Bill Clinton. So what was supposed to be a one-year fellowship ended up being 7 years, developing the first faith-based initiatives for the government and just being an advisor with President Clinton. So this photo is when President Clinton came to my lunchtime services that I was doing in New York. We called them Wonderful Wall Street Wednesdays. And it was my 50th birthday celebration. So he came to celebrate with me on my 50th birthday. How honored I was. And it was a 2-day celebration. And not only did he come, but it was Reverend Al Sharpton and Chuck Schumer and my best friend Yolanda King. So it was one of these things where all of these worlds that I had walked in came to celebrate with me. And I was so excited. So that's him laughing at some of my comments that I made as I was the host, as you are today, for this wonderful lunchtime celebration.
Oh, I just love it. I love the photo, and I can just hear you bringing the house down as you so capably do. All right, and one more photo we have in the bio section, as it were.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So that's my official photo. In 2011, I was sworn in by Secretary Hillary Clinton. I had been nominated by her, but all presidents have to appoint. And so this was my third presidential appointment at the State Department, and I became the U.S. Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom. And there at the State Department, I had 199 countries in my portfolio, 16 people on my staff and team, over a $16 million budget. And my job was to represent the United States and to advocate for religious freedom internationally. So I was to advise the President of the United States and the Secretary of State. And what was so important and exciting was that my village of Sag Harbor, who were so excited with me, came by train, by car, by bus, by plane. And they said it was the most colorful and the largest swearing in they had ever had at the State Department. But that's my official photo that you take once you're sworn in and you are officially a diplomat for the United States government.
Oh, and we're so honored we have a diplomat with us. I love it. Oh, Sujay, I love that photo. It's absolutely marvelous. And then also we have listed here among the many firsts. First is a word that is frequently synonymous with you, with the police department. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm like the vice president. I may be the first, but I hope I'm not the last. I hope that I'm the first of many so that we're blazing the trails. So I was the first female chaplain for the New York City Police Department, 50,000 members, the largest police force in the world. And I was there for 21 years. And I left to become the diplomat, to become the US ambassador. And so I worked with 5 different police commissioners. I think it was 3 or 4 different mayors. So we stayed even though the leadership of the city or the police department changed. And it was one of the greatest positions I ever had, to be in law enforcement and to be that bridge between the community and with the police department, and to really try to do good for law enforcement. So I was excited to be in that position, and certainly to become a diplomat for the United States government. And I think, when you look at, certainly, Greg, both you and I have traveled quite a bit, very extensively. And when I look at being that 14-year-old who went to Spain to study abroad, and then all of the delegations that we led as pastors throughout different countries, when I became ambassador, it was like, it was not foreign to me. And I think part of what we try to teach those who follow us is that every experience is leading to the next. And so don't despise your beginnings, be humble, and learn everything you can in those positions, even when they feel sometimes not comfortable for you. You're learning even in your discomfort.
I love that. And thank you for saying that, because that has been my story as well. This little boy from Racine, Wisconsin, I thought coming to New York was incredible. Little did I expect to make over 150 trips around the world and to have spent so many years in the tourism industry. But now I see that God wanted me to meet the world, because now I'm able to do family caregiving worldwide, from South Africa with Bishop Tutu, to be doing it in South Asia, to be doing it in Europe. We're united as his family.
Very much so. You had to learn to be professional, but you had to learn protocol, and you were positioned, I love alliteration, you were positioned for this worldwide experience, and you do it so well.
Bless your heart. It is so exciting. Now, before you became the diplomat and before you became with the police department, you also served several major congregations here in the New York area.
I did. I was a pastor of 3 New York City congregations for 30 years in inner city New York. So my first church was Mariners Temple Baptist Church on the Lower East Side, and I was there for 13 years. A wonderful congregation. From there, I went to Harvard Divinity School for a year as a President's Administrative Fellow. From there, I went to the White House, and then I started a congregation in the Bronx and in Harlem called Bronx Christian Fellowship and Believers Christian Fellowship. Was there for 15 years, but during both of those 10 years, started this lunch hour congregation at lunchtime. Sometimes more than 1,000 people would come at lunchtime for these services. And so it was from those services that I was invited to become the police chaplain. So even though the ministry may be difficult and challenging, when I went to Mariners Temple, there were 15 senior citizens in a building that held 1,100 people. And if you looked at it just through logical eyes, it would be like, this is not going to work. But if you look through spiritual eyes, which we're called to do, you say the glass is not half empty, the glass is just half full. So what do we need to do to fill this glass up? And it was the lunchtime services that kind of put us on the map. And so I've been so blessed with every experience to just really kind of go and grow to the next experience. So those are the congregations: the lunchtime, Mariners Temple, and Bronx Believers Christian Fellowship.
That is unbelievable. I keep hearing Dr. Peel, success, find a need and fill it, in that big voice of his. And you have done that constantly by divine guidance, but you have that spirit. I just love it. Now, we could go on and on the biography, but I want to take a little bit of a journey into your entrepreneurship. There are so many things about you, Sujay, that I love, adore, and respect. But I have, bless you, I have always been so deeply touched by the way in which you honor and foster the good work of other people. In our programming, which has been about, we're the third year in doing this program, and it's been about family caregiving, faith, and spirituality. And I think, Jean, we can go back to the two of us now, if you would. Yes, we'll come to that in a moment. You have been so powerful in allowing all of us, there we are. You have been so powerful in honoring groups of people who are doing extraordinary things. And that's very much who our audience has been, because we not only have people who are caregivers and care recipients, we have a lot of people who are doing programs in caregiving. Yeah. And that's probably among the most unsung place in the world. We often call the family caregivers the silent patients. But you have always honored them in various ways, and not just the caregivers, the unpaid family caregivers, but also the professional. Now, you have started some incredible organizations, and now we'll go back to the slide, Jean, and we'll take a look at some of those. And I'm going to ask you to talk about those for us. Yes. Now, these are just a couple of the organizations that you've started, both here in New York and in Washington. And I've had the privilege of attending these events. Women on the World Stage. Talk to us about how you began that.
Thank you so much. First, let me say thank you for supporting, because that's important too. If you do or come up with all these dreams, someone has to be there to follow. And you have been at every one of my events unhesitatingly. And I too followed the teachings of Norman Vincent Peale, because positive thinking and positive actions do respond. People do respond to those. So Women on the World Stage was created to begin, number one, to honor the servant leaders of our community. And so once a year prior to COVID, both in New York and DC, we would call the Unsung Sheroes Awards, and we would have a dinner where they would be celebrated and their families could see them celebrated for the work that they've done. And the villages that they were in that room could see them. And we would have 100 to 200 people. Again, you would always take a table, but it would be to honor the unsung sheroes and lately heroes, people who lift up our communities, who, like you said, are doing the work. They're the silent people, but they never get recognized. For me, that was really important. So it's been women, it's been men. And most recently, we honored the 911 operators who had been, because it was the 20th anniversary of 9/11, Ground Zero, they had been on the phones on Ground Zero trying to protect, save those who were perishing in the towers and getting police officers to where they needed to be, because the city was in chaos. And 20 years later, they're still at 911 as dispatchers, as operators, and no one had ever said thank you. No one had ever acknowledged them. So we just had an event where you were honored as one of our community servants, but these 5 women who are still there were also honored. And it was tear-jerking, because it was like someone finally acknowledged me. Someone finally said thank you. And we developed a 10-minute short film, which we hope to circulate, maybe Sundance, maybe some other places, to just say thank you for these women. So that's what WOW is. But we also do an annual retreat where the community servants invest in their own rest and relaxation, and where we try to bring in speakers and others who say thank you for your leadership. So it's a 3-day experience. And in 2022, we're going to do, we call it Selah by the Sea. And Selah, as you know, means rest, pause, reflect. It's used in the Bible 71 times. And these women come to Florida, and you have been a presenter there just for us to say thank you for what you do. So, of course, being servant leaders, when they first come, the first day, they're like, what can we help you do? And I say, absolutely nothing. We want you to be blessed as you've been a blessing to so many. We want you to sit back, soak up, have a Selah, have a siesta, have sisterhood, have some fun. And so we don't want you to pick up a pencil unless you want to write a note. We don't want you to pick up a cup unless you want to drink a cup of coffee. But we're going to wait on you and serve you as the leaders you've become. So that's what Women on the World Stage are. Wow. And we now have a website called thewowfactor.live. Thewowfactor.live, because I want to do things in your life that make your soul say, wow.
I love it. And yes, those have been some of the most wonderful events. We're going to talk a bit more, just a little bit down the program on the 9/11. But before we get there, I just want you to have a quick word. You and I could talk forever on the Global Black Women Chamber of Commerce. That is so exciting, and it's new.
Yes, it is. I'm a third generation Black woman business owner. My parents have the longest running Black family business in the Bronx, New York. It's called Johnson Security Bureau. And now a fourth generation of our family is running it. But my mother's mother before her was a stylist and a seamstress. And so now I have a speakers bureau. But what I wanted to do was bring together a collective of Black women business owners. The word is to build back better. Well, we've been building on our backs, and we've been doing it better than any other group. And so we have a collective. Our website is Global Black Women CC for chamberofcommerce.org, globalblackwomencc.org. And anyone who wants to be a Black woman business owner, who is a Black woman business owner, or who wants to help lift up Black women in business can join us. And it's an awesome experience. We're 1 year old now, going on our second year. It's a collective so we can connect. We can help Black women businesses sustain and even scale. But most of all, we offer resources, opportunities, and networking. So we invite you to come join the movement with us. We don't have all the answers, but we're moving, and we're movers and shakers. So come join with us.
I love it. Now, we're going to just move on to one slide that we have, which is from our trip to Bali. One of the programs you did was to take a group of the women from WOW, and here we are at my home in Bali, all of us together. I just love that. It's been a long time since we've been there, but I wanted us to just have a moment to look at that and to celebrate, because it was such a special time. We were in Bali, and we were over in Java at Yogyakarta, and everywhere we went, we had interviews with the infamous Suzan and some of the wonderful leaders in Indonesia. And now I want to go back to, we can talk about this. We may talk about in a program next year, because I've got an idea even as we're speaking today.
Yes.
Jean, can we take a look at the next slide? Because I believe that's the one that has 9/11. Yes, this was one of your wonderful events this past 9/11 for the 20th anniversary of the great tragedy of 9/11, and you were very key in being there as a chaplain and working with the police.
Yeah, let me say on the Bali one, you're the host with the most. I have to say that, but you've gone above and beyond, which is why you received the award, because again, you've been silent in what you've done, but you are worldwide. You're a wild man, and you have blessed us around the world. Southern Asia, South Africa, certainly around the United States, you've been a blessing. And so thank you. 160 countries you've touched. You've gone above and beyond. And so you were one of our heroes as we celebrated the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Bless your heart. Well, it was a glorious, glorious event up at Canaan Baptist Church, a church that I've worshiped in and been part of on many occasions. So it was a stellar day, but I particularly was touched by the women from the EMT, who I don't know how some of them can even sleep yet, 20 years later. The story of talking to people who were preparing to die, who knew they were about to die. But these women were unbelievably professional, unbelievably guiding, and enormously strong in their faith. Because without their faith, they could never have gone through what they did that day. And the tears were enormous. I get very touched. Now, you've told us that there is a longer video. Jean has prepared just a short bit for us. And Jean, could we see that?
The work of the 911 operators and dispatch is extremely important. We're a city of 8 million people and counting. It is the largest city in the United States, and people of all walks of life live here, come through here, and so their work is very important. They can be the call between life and death, between saving a life or not. New York City 911, police, fire, and medical.
Is he breathing? Okay, ma'am. Help is on the way. Ma'am, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay.
Well, those who we've met today are people who have really committed to, number one, the department, committed to God in terms of being chosen for this position, committed to making sure that the people of New York City and both tourists and those who are residents are taken care of to the best of their ability. So I'd like to think that they do the best they can every day.
It's just pure chaos. And then when that's over, you go and do the next emergency. When that's over, you go and do the next one. It's just what we do.
So stay right where you are. I'll stay with you until help arrives. The work is very intense, and so people have to stay very focused, very faith-centered, and have to be very much a unit. They have to be calm under all circumstances because they're providing help. They don't know what the call is going to be on the other line. They don't know who the voice is going to be. So it is one that they're trained for, but it takes more than just training. It takes faith, and it takes a focus, and it takes a firm dedication that this is where I'm supposed to be to help the people who call me.
Every day, I choose to come to be the answer for those people who need me to be the answer.
Such a powerful, powerful movie. And I urge people to have the opportunity to see that. Now, Jean, do you want to put Sujay and me back together? I loved one of the things that struck me that day and has struck me in your ministry because it was part of mine. We often think of the word calling in terms of clergy, but we are all called when we're willing to go deep inside and listen to that voice that is calling us to a particular field. As a minister, I never, ever thought, and I say it with endless gratitude, that I would spend 22 years in the middle of one of the finest healthcare corporations in the world, Emblem Health.
Wow.
I mean, my idea of ministry was far more what I did at the Marble Collegiate Church, which I was greatly honored to do and love.
Yes.
But I realized my real ministry was in the middle of the insurance company, being called by our mutual dear late friend, the late Reverend Dr. Carl Flemister,
Yes.
asking me to create the Care for the Family Caregiver Program. And I remember saying to Carl, I know nothing about insurance, but as a minister, I buried more caregivers than care recipients. Little did I know that was my calling.
Yes, yes.
And I'm so grateful. And you, how you have taken it into all of these fields. But when you used the word, and I loved it, that they were called to this work, that film tells that story. So I urge people, look at your life.
Yes.
Consider it a calling, even when you think, this? Yes.
Yes.
You are doing the work of God. And as we always say on this program, from the 12 steps, God, as you understand that word today, and keep struggling with it. It's good. We all do.
Yes, yes. And you know, isn't it something? Well, they can find the rest of that on youtube.com/Ambassador Sujay, the entire film. But isn't it something? Carl Flemister helped me get Mariners Temple, that first church where I pastored. and he, started the caregiving where you are and called you to that. So here we are together. So I'm so glad you lifted up Reverend Carl Flemister's name, because he was instrumental in opening so many doors, or paving the way, or planting the seeds for the ministries that we now have.
Amen to that one. Absolutely. Thank you, Carl. There is no, yes, there's no question. And that's the gift. That's the gift. And it's why I love what you're doing. And it's the reason that as I travel the world, I always begin the same way. I said, if you remember nothing else I say, I've come to say the two words that family caregivers rarely, if ever, hear. Thank you. And I have, like you, seen people break into tears because I finally said the words they've been dying to hear, because it honors their calling. So this is really marvelous. And folks, I urge you, Sujay, give them the link once again for the full film.
YouTube.com/Ambassador Sujay, and I spell Sujay Sujay. YouTube.com/Ambassador Sujay, and you go with Live with Sujay, the words that are behind me, and you put in Unsung Sheroes 9/11, and it will come up.
Oh, it's marvelous. I urge that. And now, Sujay, it's so wonderful chatting with you. A little bit about Sujay, the author and the TV commentator. I know you've been very much in demand, and that's absolutely wonderful. You've done 18 books just in your spare time. A preacher, I'm constantly seeing you in different churches, motivator, keynote, and just it goes on and on. And you have charisma speakers. So, I mean, it just is absolutely wonderful. But recently you've done some new books, and let's just take a moment to talk about those. I think we've got a slide on them that also shows where people can purchase them. I'm a great one for sharing books, because I loved this. Again, this is you in your wonderful inclusiveness. You took 40 different people and invited them to write devotions. I have that book sitting right by my prayer chair. I absolutely love it. Talk to us about these.
Yes, thank you. Rhythms of Rest was written 2 years ago from the 40 women who attended the Selah by the Sea retreat we talked about in Florida. And we had with us the publisher from Our Daily Bread, whose name was Joyce Dinkins, who's she's the executive editor for their Black section there. And she asked 40 women if they wanted to be contributing authors, and they said yes. For many, it was their first time writing or having their writing published. And we were so excited. She was the executive editor of the Voices collection, and Rhythms of Rest was birthed. And I'm proud to say it was released this August, and we have just sold out the first printing, 4,400 copies. It's available on Amazon.com, and we hope that you'll get it. Also, Our Daily Bread, and we hope that you'll get it. And we want to start the new year with devotions for busy women, 40 devotions for busy women. We hope that you'll slow your roll, as they say, and be blessed by the word. My fabulous 5th chapter just came out right after that in October. It's the subtitle, It's My Turn Now. It's for the Christian woman who's over 50, how to be fine, fit, fabulous, how to have faith, and how to have some fun. That there are no rules except the ones that you make. You have to give yourself permission to be fine and fabulous. And so every Friday, again on Ambassador Sujay YouTube channel, you can get one of my fabulous 5th conversations with some of my childhood friends, my lifelong friends, about what it feels like to be over 50. Some are in their 50s, some of us are in our 60s, 70s, and we have some who are in our 80s. That there is no limit, that dreams don't have an expiration date. It is your turn now. We've been caregiving all of our lives, some for children, some for parents, but when do we get our turn? Right now. It's available on judsonpress.com, also on Amazon.com. Hope that you'll get it. Hope that you'll be blessed. My tagline is this: may the rest of your life be the best and most blessed of your life.
I love your love of words and alliteration. You give a sermon in one sentence, and I adore it. No, we like to make it a little bit longer, but I mean, I just love your love of words. And I remember when we were in Bali, as we were riding along, you would do various talks with us using the alphabet. I've never forgotten that. I
Oh,
learned
wow.
so much on that trip, and it was so special. Anyhow, so please, yes, folks, these two books, along with the other books that Ambassador Sujay has written, are very important. Now, before we leave, because this is December 30th, and so we have only one more day left in 2021, and we are ready to jump into 2022. I'm going to ask if you could give us a few tips that you would suggest as we look to the new year. We've certainly had challenges in the last number of years. They've not been the years any of us thought we would have. And yet we're blessed to be here today.
Yes.
Through it all.
Through it all, first of all, let me say thank you again. But, first of all, make this a December to remember. You only have one day left, but still make it a December to remember. But make January a month of joy. Play some jams, some of those favorite ones you had. I'm a Motown girl, and we just saw Tina Turner's play on Broadway. So play the jams that make you feel good and make it a month of joy. January, a month of joy. It's the month I was born. And so I'm going to make it a month of joy for many reasons. I also received my Medicare card this particular month, this birthday. So I definitely got to make it a month of joy and celebrate that we still have life. But get your rhythm back. I went to a car company, it's called Caliber Collision, and the sign says, this is the place where we get your rhythm right. And so I want you to get your rhythm right. Read rhythms of rest and get your flow back. They said that Stella got her groove back. Well, you get your rhythm back. And whatever it takes to have a devotion that you and God reconnect and you get your rhythm back, and then declare that I'm fine, I'm fit, and I'm fabulous. And I take nothing from my journey. I thank God that I'm still here. And so even though we're coming out of a pandemic, and we're going to be in it for a little while longer with these variants, but I'm pivoting, I'm positioning myself to be profitable, to be prosperous, and for God to get the glory out of my life. So that's what 2022 presents to you. You take the bull by the horns and you just strive to be the best you that you can be. Maya Angelou had this poem. She said, and still we rise. But then she had another poem. She said, you are phenomenal. And I want you to say, phenomenal, that's me.
Amen. And I want you all to keep playing this tape. If you're feeling down, just play this little clip. It's wonderful. And it's wonderful that you used the word joy just this morning on Facebook, my great source of connection. And I love it. Reverend Dr. Janis Kinnens out in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. He was the pastor to my parents. And he's a very, very dear friend of mine. Talked about a teacher he had as a child growing up in Lithuania. The word joy every year for Christmas is what she shared. Joy. Jesus, others, you.
Ooh.
Isn't that fabulous?
Absolutely fabulous.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the message completely. And I often think that, especially in the middle piece there of others, Arthur Caliandro used to say the whole message of Christmas is others. And I loved that. In fact, one year that was his Christmas card, others.
Wow.
And I've never, ever forgotten that. And then when I read this morning, and blessed to hear you say, make it a month of joy and a happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
So wonderful. Now, I think we need to call back Indonesia.
Yes.
Mr. G, there he is. Thank you. We could never do these programmings. Terima kasih. It was you're wonderful. First of all, he creates the slides. And as I've said with Sujay, we had so much to choose from. It was wonderful. But thank you, Jean, for everything, and particularly that clip.
Thank you.
Now,
it's a privilege to work on the presentations, on the video clip, because I've already inspired during the slide preparations, and right now I am more inspired just to hear what Ambassador Sujay just shared on this broadcast. And well, it's just like the paella. So both of us right now are in the discussions with the government of Indonesia, talking about the caregiving, and it's aligned with the tagline of Indonesia, unity in diversity. So I think your experience, your great experience, it's the true example of diversity. That's how you create like the pirate. You have just like everything on the plate, but that it's how we becomes like united as a family. I mean, when you receive the phone call, you will not know who will give you a call for the next one, but it's the call from you that gives the power and also the willingness just to give the help and support to everyone that needs it. And I think that will be like the great message for 2022, because there is no expiration date to do a good things for others. We just keep continue doing that. So thank you, Ambassador Sujay. I mean, it's the perfect way just to end 2021, and we were ready for a great new year with full of joy.
The best is yet to come. Thank you, Gene. And the best we look forward to is welcoming you to New York, New York. New York needs you. And then the three of us will sit down and have some paella, and then we'll take her to Brooklyn and have Aristafel. There's a wonderful Javanese restaurant there.
Yes. We need to try that one, the three of us.
Well, now to all of our friends, we say thank you for being with us. Together we say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes, and we say onward in love and caregiving. Namaste. Thank you, Sujay. God bless. Much love. Thank you, Gene. Onward.